you. They joined up with their mates, they joined up with their pals. So on that 1st of July, there were nobody there that was forced to be there. They were either Kitchener's volunteers or they were a regular army. But they decided to go over the top at 7:30 in the morning. Beautiful day. It wasn't cold like this, it wasn't misty like this. It was a bright, clear day. Beautiful blue sky. By the end of that day, on the 1st of July 1916, 19,240 British soldiers were dead. To this day, it is still the worst day in British Army history. And that was on the opening day of the Battle of the Somme on the 1st of July 1916. But we mustn't forget that the battle lasted 141 days. We mustn't forget that another 80,000 British soldiers died in that battle. And I was staggered. When I wrote the Somme walk for this site, I was staggered to find out that the British casualties on the Somme were greater than the French at Verdun. I was staggered to find out that the casualties on the Somme, the British, the French and the Germans, the combined casualties on the Somme were greater than at Verdun. Absolutely staggered. By doing the Somme walk, Keith, David and myself, we learnt a lot about the battle. But the battle was also about individual people that left their homes, their towns. On the pathway behind a lot of people, we have 145 Victoria Cross winners. One guy I'm going to tell you a little bit about is Lieutenant Colonel Adrian Carton de Wyatt. He was born in Brussels. He served in the Boer War. He served in the First World War. In 1914, he's in Africa. He gets shot in the face. He loses his left eye. 1915, he goes to Ypres and he gets shot in the hand and he has to have his hand amputated. He goes to the Battle of the Somme. On the 3rd of July, he leads his battalion into action. He's awarded the Victoria Cross. That is why his plaque is on this site. 2 weeks later, he gets shot in the head and he's wounded. He goes back to England. He desperately wants to come back to the front after he recovers, but because he's lost an eye, the medical board says, no, you cannot go back without a glass eye. You cannot wear a patch. So he puts the glass eye in, he gets passed by the medical board, takes the eye out, chucks it down the road and goes back to the battlefield.
Back to their bombs like lightning, slicing knives of metal out of the tree's bark where they were embedded. The bullets fly back to their guns as the wounded soldiers fall back up again, blood oozing back into their gaping wounds. Stunned, they walk home, back to their trenches through the muddy bog that is slowly solidifying as the raindrops drizzle back into the grey clouds. The stumps of the tree's dead comrades go back, casting off the bombs that fouled them like a dog, shaking off water. The forest is reborn, and still the ancient hornbeam, the last hornbeam, stands tall, proud, no longer alone, and a single leaf, bright as a flame of hope, lies on the grass.
Private Fred Ball, Liverpool Pals.
Private Joseph Page, Somerset Light Infantry. George Clayton, Royal Engineers, 175th Tunnelling Company.
Private Basil Farah, Green Howards.
Edith Appleton, Voluntary Aid Detachment.
Look at me. This isn't what I pictured for myself when I signed up. Before, the only thing I knew about soldiers was the image I had in my head of smart men in ceremonial outfits. I had a shock when I gave me my uniform, I can tell you that. Horrible, scratchy clothing. And I was used to wearing silk. I never expected to lose my hair either. I was always very proud of my long head of hair. I worked as a jockey before the war, so of course I tried to enlist in a horse regiment. This sergeant, he comes up to me and says, we have lovely horses in the Middlesex regiments. So of course I enlisted, only to find it was a blooming foot regiment. Didn't even see a horse for the first year of the war.
And there are men littered across no man's land, calling out for you to pick them up. But you can only pick those from your own regiment. You can't stop for everyone.
Little Kenneth misses you. He started at school on Monday and All he keeps talking about is you coming home for Christmas.
Holy night, all is
The
gone.
noise out there is incredible. The bullets sweep past you with a sound like a sigh. To be honest, it's the noise that gets to me the most. Of course you see some sights too, but it sounds awful, but you get used to it. I remember one time there was a soldier buried by a shell blast and his arm stuck out, and we would shake his hand as we walked past and say, "Cheerio, chum." It's amazing what you get used to.
Deep in heavenly
At 7:30 a.m., the whistle blew for the first attack of the first day of the Battle of the Somme. At 7:30, two Welsh lads dressed my wounds, and then I was left to it. Nothing to do but wait. And wait I did, all day until 7 the next morning, where all I could see around me was a field of dead men. I would have joined them if I had to. I kept a Mills bomb next to me in case the Germans tried to take me prisoner. I find the thought of that worse than dying. But I was determined to live. So I dragged myself centimetre by centimetre back to our lines. Don't move! You have to learn the trick of moving without being seen. Because if the snipers see you, you've had it. It took an eternity. And I was weak as anything with all the blood that I lost. But I'm standing here before you now, aren't I? I got there in the end. At the last moment I threw myself into our trenches, and that was it. Back home to England for a few months to mend up, and then I head back into the fray. I am proud to serve my country. But when I think about it, I cannot forgive Haig and the like. I was 15 when I walked into the recruitment office. "You're not old enough," they said. So I went out, came back in and said I was 18. And they enlisted me straight away. Kids are sent to die while Haig sits behind the lines. Maybe if he went to the front and saw it all for himself, he wouldn't be so keen to send wave after wave of kids into the hailstorm.
They're just kids!
He's 15! I begged him not to go, but he just wouldn't listen!
Oh.
I barely slept the night before we were due to go over the top. I felt
sick.
it burned me throat and my mind started to run over everything that could possibly go wrong. Every manner in which I could die. Then the morning came and asked the action had been delayed for another 24 hours. Another 24 hours of waiting. Another tormented night.
He hasn't written in months, just so long as I don't get a telegram.
Another tormented night.
I can't remember the last time that I slept for an entire night.
Every so often, I would start to feel safe, and I'd drift off before my heart would start hammering, as I remembered it was only a temporary reprieve. Nothing can prepare you for the front line. It is a vision of hell.
Our Father.
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, said, "Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not."
But looking upon it all, I realise there is no God. It's impossible. The idea of an all-knowing and merciful God does not sit well next to the sight of a screaming boy cut apart by shrapnel. As I lined up and waited for the whistle, my mind again started to churn over what could happen. Would I be shot or caught in a shell blast? Could I lose a limb? Or perhaps there'd be nothing left of me at all. I hoped for a blighty one, a wound to send me home and take me out of this waking nightmare. But there was no wound, blighty or otherwise.
Blown up. I'd rather be blown up.
I don't like the thought of lying in no man's land in agony. I'd rather a quick bullet to the head, get it done quicker.
Hey, come on, chaps, have some humanity and change the subject.
If you want to find the private, I know where he is. I know where he is.
Hey,
I know where he is. If you want to find the private, I know where he is. He's hanging on the old barbed wire. I saw him, hanging on the old barbed wire. I saw him hanging on the old barbed wire.
That was my first experience of battle. And I don't think I'm ready to describe everything I saw, or what I've seen since. Perhaps I never will be. Sometimes even the idea of death didn't seem such a terrible thing anymore. Anything must be better than this.
Listen! If you can hear a thump, 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 it's the Germans, tunnelling to reach our trenches. Thump, thump. Like a heartbeat. I worked in the colliery before I signed up, but I never went down the pits. Not after what happened to my dad. He was buried under a pile of rocks. It put me right off mining. But then, after war was declared, they put posters up asking for miners on the Western Front. My brother signed up, and well, I certainly wasn't going to be left behind. But it's not mining for coal over here though. We dig tunnels underneath the German trenches, and we lay down explosives. Tons of it. So much so it takes 3 days and 3 nights to put down. You never forget your first blast. The feel, as well as the sight. Of course, they're also trying to do the same to us. And sometimes we're tunnelling right next to each other. If we think we can hear them, we bore a hole and insert a torpedo tube full of explosives to try and blast their working party. But what if they hear us first? That's the nerve-wracking part. Once you know they're nearby, it's a race against time to be the first to make the explosion. Some of the lads can't take it. They lose it. They have to be sent back up to the top. Listen, I think I can hear them. Yes, they're below us. You best pass the message on.
They're below us. They're below us.
If we've heard them, they could well have heard us.
I can't speak to you, but you should know what it's like here. It's been
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them. When you go home, tell all of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today.
Well, that pretty much brings to the close our